What's up, fam? Welcome to Lazy Booking on Niche Night on A2DRadio.com. Lazy Booking from all of our own Real Talk studios. We're brought to you by our sponsors, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy. You can find him in Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton, New Jersey. Find him on the web, no appointment necessary. SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Also brought to you by Ambuck Services. You need gutter cleaning. You need gutter guards, deck installation, restoration, tree trimming, anything you need. Summertime's coming up. Get that house in order. Hit up AMBUCK, AmbuckServices.com. Let them know that we sent you here at A2D. You get 20% off. Our topic of conversation tonight is with, and this is going to be the fun part, one of the biggest independent stars in the world. He is the cream in your coffee, your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler, the Jewish canon, the physical embodiment of charisma, the most entertaining man in professional wrestling, the Bernie Sanders of professional wrestling, the best of the best, Mr. American Rana, Davey Wrestling, the 104-minute man, the main event. He's really good at Twitter, and he's independent. The king of taunts, the product, David Starr.
Nice.
Did I get it?
Jim.
Well done.
Good stuff. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate coming on, having some talk with human.
Yeah. You know what's funny too, David, is I can go through all of our sponsorship, and I didn't even finish them all yet. And I have yours literally in front of me. And we're the no notes studio. But listen, when you got that, you need notes for that. But
I tell announcers that all the time because there's a couple of ring announcers out there that do memorize it. Like MLJ was the first one to really do it.
Oh, it's insane.
Unreal. Yeah, you were involved in that first. You were there that time. The match with that Riddle.
Hans Bickler, buddy, that's you. You created that.
So, but yeah, he memorized it, and I always stress to ring announcers all the time because I understand that like their job is stupid stressful. Like it is just ridiculous. So I always tell them like, you don't have to memorize this. Like just read it. Just read it. I would never ask anybody to memorize it. Like, but some people put the pressure on themselves and they do it. So you know what? I don't blame you for reading it off the notes. It's all about delivery. You know, it's about the delivery, and you nailed it.
My guy. And listen, our topic of conversation, and every show, David, that we usually have a topic that can relate to our person who's on screen with us, our guest, or just something general in wrestling. And honestly, with a lot that's going on, particularly right now, and I'm not even necessarily talking about the political side of it, in professional wrestling, this actually really relates right now. And our topic is brought to us by PlayQB54.com. The best tailgating game in the business, play QB54. And listen, let them use the promo code A2D, get you 10% off on that. But it's social media creates more positivity than negativity. And I say it's really great for you because, as you said, really good at Twitter. That's part of your entrance, right? You're very active on social media on a lot of fronts when it comes to professional wrestling, outside of professional wrestling. And even on the flip side, I mean, we just had a case where one of the lady wrestlers from Japan was bullied on social media to a point where, unfortunately, we had a passing. So I do always feel like it's a really great conversation to have in terms of the impact that social media can have. So you're probably going to see some comments pop up on the bottom of the screen, David, too.
Okay.
So if there's a question that you want to answer or anything you want to address that people put in, feel free to happy to do that. We're going to try to read off some of our viewers' comments as well. We're happy to have you, brother. So first and foremost, but listen, by the way, and with myself, Maddie, and Ritz here, probably the best pre-show powwow that we have ever had
Oh, absolutely.
on any show. And I've been a part of a lot of our interviews here. That was phenomenal. We got to meet your mom.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So
she's the character, like I was saying, what I was saying before is that I had to move. I had to come, well, not move, but I had to come back to the U.S. I was living just outside of London in the U.K., and I had to come back because the U.K. government denied me unemployment, and the U.K. government also denied me the ability to work there. So I had to come back to the States to collect unemployment and to or to get a job if I have to. With the pandemic and everything. So my mom has been kind of on her own in her apartment for these couple months of lockdown, and she's just ecstatic that I am back home, and she is fulfilling her role as my Jewish mother.
So
Right.
we had a blast with her.
She's the one who's making me this drink. She's making me dinner. She's making me breakfast. She's not letting me cook for myself. Even though one of the things I was really enjoying during lockdown when I was in the UK, I was cooking a lot, and I really enjoyed it. I was making all this stuff, and when I came back home, I was like, hey, I was really liking being able to cook and kind of just make stuff. It was just very therapeutic. I don't know. I really liked it. And she was like, oh, okay, well, if you want to cook with me, you can. My mom, like I said to you guys before, is a wizard in the kitchen. Like, she is just unreal at cooking. It's we always growing up had like a full legit like meal, like a full dinner all the time. And, she at first she said that I was going to be, allowed to help her out. And that just every day got less and less and less to the point where I'd start being like, no, that's not how you do that. You don't do it. No, you don't do it like that. No, just get out of here. Let me do this. I'll do it. It got to that point. She shows a lot of affection through her cooking, and it's and trust me, I'm perfectly okay with that.
I feel like Andy definitely gets that.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I get the whole Jewish mom thing. I've got like 5 of them. It's great.
But yeah, David, welcome to the show, man. We're going to talk about a lot of things. David's one of the co-founders of We the Independent, which is definitely been a really big social media movement that's turning into a lot more. And we want to talk about that, the inspiration and what the goals are for that. So, but we're going to get into your wrestling career first, David. You've been around for almost a decade at this point in ring. Can you tell? I know it's crazy. Can you tell us about your training process?
I mean, yeah. I mean, honestly, it was just I was wrestling in college. Still, I started wrestling when I was 7 years old, all the way through college, and I was coming toward the end of that, and I really always wanted to be a pro wrestler. And CM Punk pipe bomb promo kind of re-inspired my love and interest, and I just emailed a bunch of different schools. Like I emailed the Ring of Honor school, I emailed the Chikara school, I emailed a bunch of different places, the Monster Factory, and the Wild Stone Training Center. And I and the Wild Stone Training Center got back to me, and I was like, all of a sudden, I'm emailing with Samu and Hawaii, and I'm sitting there like, oh my god, like I'm emailing with Samu and Hawaii right now. It was just crazy. And I just went there and I started training, and it was great. I mean, it wasn't easy. It was an old school place. It was definitely, we had to start out. We started out every practice with 500 Hindu squats, and I found out before that apparently that was soft. They used to do 1,000 Hindu squats every before they started training every day. Wow. We did 500, and then we would run the ropes repeatedly, and it was tough. But then from there, you just kind of network and you meet people. You go to this place, you get booked this place, and you wrestle for this really low rent company, and then you wrestle for this really low rent company, and then you go here and bust your ass for $20, and then you go here, and and it's kind of what you do. And it was it was. I mean, that's my training process. I learned a lot more on in the ring on the job than I did probably in a formal training setting, because I'll pat myself on the back a little bit here. I'm the fastest graduate in the history of the Wild Stone Training Center, which is pretty cool, man. And I'm starting to give myself more credit than I used to. I used to kind of always try and be like, no, it's nothing too good. No, it's fucking cool, man. Like I think that's cool as shit. Like Rock train there, like Kidman train there, Cannon train there. Like that's cool, man. And that's something I hold my hat on. I have my certificate, my graduation certificate, hanging up on my wall right over there. My mom put it up.
Nice. Yeah, what's crazy? It's funny that you say that too. So yesterday on A2D, we actually did an interview with a former WNBA player, Chardonnay Zoll-Norman, and she talked about when she got drafted. So obviously it's less teams, so she was drafted 29th overall, but in the 3rd round. And she said at that time it wasn't satisfactory to her enough. She didn't stop and appreciate the accomplishment that she had right away. So it's kind of interesting that you talk about that. Let me ask you: did you watch The Last Dance with the Michael Jordan Bulls documentary?
Of course.
Okay. So, this was kind of a summation that we came to yesterday, and I want to get your feelings on it. You know, a lot of people probably would look at somebody like yourself who has that mindset, and her who says, "Well, you should just appreciate being there and the accomplishment of getting it." But I feel like nowadays, whether it's professional wrestling or professional sports, or I'm a dude in the office who's got a goal in mind. You know, that killer mentality and that inability to be satisfied with where you're at, it almost now is looked at differently to where like that's what creates greatness in people. You know what I mean?
I think the healthy thing to do, and this is something honestly like that I've discussed with my therapist, which I want to just put this out there. We need to normalize therapy. It doesn't have to be that bad to see a therapist. Everyone's got fucked up things, you know. Everyone's got issues, and there's nothing wrong with talking to somebody about it, and we should be able to do that. And that should also be, you know, able to be accessed financially speaking, that's already insane by itself. But anyway, it's one of these things where you have to walk. The healthy thing is to kind of walk that fine line, you know, to not be arrogant, but still be confident, and you want to be humble, but still acknowledge the things you've gotten done, you know. So it is it can be rough, and especially in wrestling, where if you show any sort of, especially early on, if you have a fucking dude, people get heat for like smiling too much in wrestling early on. I swear to God, that's a real thing. Like if it seems like you're too happy in wrestling, especially early, there's people that will have a problem with you. Because they'll think that you're into yourself. You think you're better than everybody because they think you're supposed to be miserable and beaten down. And it's this really, really toxic mentality that happens throughout wrestling. It's kind of beaten into us, both figuratively and literally. So I'm trying to get better at that. I'm not really good at taking compliments, despite what like in my actual personal life, despite what people might probably judge if they would. But yeah, it is a fine line, but I'm not satisfied. I'll never be satisfied. And I think satisfaction is not good for a winner. I think that if you're going to be a winner, you can't be satisfied. You can be happy with what you've done and proud of what you've accomplished, but you shouldn't be satisfied. Satisfaction is when you're done.
Agreed. Andy.
Yeah. So, David, I want to ask, right? You talked about how the CM Punk pipe bomb promo got you reinvigorated in wrestling. I was watching a video that you did about 2 years ago, and you talk about how the Bret Hart Shawn Michaels match at WrestleMania 12, that was your first inspiration. What was it about that match that got you hooked?
Dude, I mean, like, so yeah, that was when I was 5 years old. I saw that, and for whatever reason, one of the things I kind of always said in a joking sense, the 5-year-old was able to pay attention and be like captivated by a 60-minute technical wrestling match. Like, what the fuck is that about? I have no business being a 5-year-old paying attention to a 60-minute wrestling match. But honestly, I think it was kind of like the combination of the pageantry of Shawn Michaels, like his entrance, and the intensity of Bret Hart. I mean, like my first ever screen name that I had, like I think it was my AOL screen name, or like it wasn't AIM because, but it was like my first ever like internet screen name was Hitman Max 1991, or like I loved Bret Hart. I loved Shawn Michaels. I was just kind of taken in by the intensity and the entertainment value. Just what wrestling is supposed to be is that match. Like that to me is what pro wrestling, American pro wrestling should be.
I totally agree on that.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was young. I think I was, what was that, 96? I was 11, a little bit older than you guys. But I remember the same thing. I mean, for you to be a 5-year-old and be encapsulated by that match, same thing with me. I mean, even as an 11-year-old, I was a hyperactive little bastard.
Man, you're old fuck, man. What?
I know. Well, listen, man, that's why Hans Bickler had to stand in the ring with you and hold the belt and not be the guy across the ring.
How old is Bickler?
How
old is Hans, I should say. How old is he?
Like actually from when he was created?
How old is Hans Bickler? No. What's the character? Get in the fucking zone, man. What I told you. Damn it.
I can't get it. I'm not good at this, David. I'm not very good at being.
This is so good.
I know, David. I'm usually the one busting other people's balls.
I know. I love this. Keep it up.
We're gonna have to put that on a T-shirt and sell that on Philly Drinkers now. Get in the zone and Chrome.
Get in the fucking zone, David Starr. Maddie, go ahead.
So my questions are kind of related towards like the area with Philadelphia area and obviously CZW, because you had a good run there with tag team with JT Dunn, the Juicy Product. I just want to know, where did that name come from? Like, was it just something you guys came up with off the top of your head, or did somebody just come up to you and say, "Hey, why don't you guys just call yourself the Juicy Product"?
No, we came up with it. I mean, he was just the he was the Juice JT Dunn, and I was the Product David Starr. So the Juicy Product just kind of came to be. But weird thing that because I haven't really talked about Juicy Product that much in a long time. But the weird thing about it is that we put out a poll because we weren't supposed to be a tag team beforehand. Like, literally, we wrestled each other, and DJ told us. We wrestled each other at the opening of Tangled Web, 2013, I believe. And DJ told us, we got one spot left. Whoever gets more over is getting the spot. Like, that's it. Like, we're like, all right, cool. So we just wanted to go out there and we just told each other, we're like, all right, well, let's just have a fucking kick-ass match, and that's how we'll get over. You know, it is what it is. And we did. We had a pretty good fucking match. And I think it's on YouTube for free, to be honest. I think it's like only 8 minutes, something like that. And it was good. And we both got over. We both got the please come back chance, all that stuff. So then once we got the back, DJ was like, okay, you both got the spot. You're a tag, like, you're going to tag now. And we weren't really happy about it at first because we both wanted to be singles wrestlers. And but we needed a tag team name. And we actually like put it out on Twitter. We put it on social media. And originally, because we didn't think it was going to be a long thing, we didn't know. I think the original plan was for us to tag for like 2-3 months, and then have a rematch at Cage of Death that year. I think that was the original plan. But then a bunch of shit ended up happening. I think someone from the Assyrian portal, he was either Ophidian or I can't think of his wrestling name anymore. I don't want to expose his real name. But they someone from the Assyrian portal, they got hurt, so they couldn't wrestle. So then we had to keep tagging, and then we ended up wrestling Blackout at Cage of Death. But originally we were really leaning towards this ridiculous name, because again, we only thought it was going to be a couple months, of what was it? Don't mess with the product while drinking your juice in the dub. That didn't really stick. It wasn't chantable. That was the thing, like don't mess with the product while drinking your juice.
That's amazing. I love it.
Because I do remember going to a CCW show. I think you came out and you were cutting a promo, and you guys had the T-shirt over as fuck as your.
The whole time out, I have to respect my man. Amasis was his wrestling name under the mask, and I didn't want to disrespect him by giving out his real name. He's a great dude. I love him to death, by the way. So there you go. But yeah, okay, over as fuck T-shirts.
Yes, I remember seeing that, and I just remember like, I know not enough about Juicy Product, but I'm buying their T-shirt tonight because that T-shirt is kick-ass. Totally doing that.
That's kind of the idea, right? Like, what I, especially early on, I always had the idea that a wrestling fan, I wanted to put out merch that people would wear. Like, I didn't give a shit if they want to. I wasn't a popular enough or good enough wrestler to have people buy my shit because they liked my work. So I wanted to put out a good quality, like, something that people could wear outside and feel cool about it. And I mean, the over as fuck thing was part of that. It was kind of like, this, I guess, like an anti-establishment, like, kind of idea behind it, or like, message there, as well as marketing for us. Because if we're telling you that we're over, you're gonna get so mad about us telling you that we're over that we're just gonna get over, and that's what's happening. Because we weren't good enough and we weren't over, but we told everybody we were, so it worked out.
Perfect.
That was by the way, we literally said to each other, "Let's get over by telling people that we're over." Like,
it's the most basic idea. It works. Let me add. I mean, listen, we have a pretty big contingency in terms of CZW following who watches the show because we're based out of that area. So you worked with, I mean, name after name of people. You know, Matt Riddle, Drew Gulak, Joey Janela. You've worked with so many great names, guys who are really, you know, prominent right now, and you're right up there with them and put on. I could say, and honestly, if you haven't seen them, go on YouTube. You can pull up these matches and put on some of the best matches you'll find anywhere in the world. And you've worked all over the world and worked different styles. Can you talk about what it's like to work and put on such high quality matches with guys like a Drew Gulak, Shane Strickland, and those likes?
I mean, it's always a privilege. I'm very fortunate that wrestling has been very nice to me, where I've gotten to step in the ring with some of the best people. I've gotten to be in the back with some of the best people, and obviously, as much as I like to every once in a while tell I'm a self-made man sort of thing, you know, because I've never had any sort of massive machine behind me, you know, it's the truth. I mean, I've kind of created all these situations of my own, but the same note, you can't discount the people you've worked with and the people you've been around that have helped you and you've learned from. I mean, like early on, I mean, like you name drop Shane Strickland, like, man, what a great wrestler he is. Like he's unreal good. And every time you wrestle him, you get better and you learn from it. Gulak was one of my trainers, and it was just fantastic, like just unreal good. All the times I wrestled Dave Christ. Abington represent. What's up, man? So yeah, like all these things. Like, I mean, it is. I guess in a way that is kind of humbling. Like, it's just pretty cool that I've been put in these situations. Or like the thing that's cool now is like I remember always seeing like the name your favorite indie wrestler, like those random tweets or those random Facebook posts, and I always remember being like, okay, I want to be in that breath. You know what I mean? Like when people just name me, they might not know me, they won't tag me, they won't do anything like that, but they'll just name drop me. That's kind of what I want, and that started to happen, and it's really fucking cool, and I think it's just really cool, man. Like I want to kind of take a step back and be like, yeah, remember when you were sitting there like stressed out that no one was mentioning your name, and now people kind of are. Like that's pretty fucking cool. Like I like that. Like, it's been really cool. It's been really great to work with a lot of these people you named, especially.
One of the questions too that popped up real quick I want to ask, and then we'll get to Andy. Rob Povia, he asked if you have a favorite person to work with or a person that you weren't so much of a fan to work with. I don't know if you want to venture down that road. You can if you want. But he did say, is it true that King Maxwell is a stiff worker?
Yeah, you know, I don't want to expose the business too much, you know, like but who's the best, like my favorite people to have worked with? You know what's funny?
Yeah, some of your favorites.
If you ask me this question, I'll probably end up giving you like 5 different answers on 5 different days. Like, man, I guess like if I go through my best matches that I've consistently had with people, I mean, stuff with Janela, stuff with Devlin, stuff with Walter and Riddle and Zack Sabre Jr. And man, those are like the recent ones. Urine Simmons, Ilya Dragunov, Travis Banks, Dick Riley, who's another dude in the UK who's like so underrated. He's so sick. And people like worse people, like I haven't really, of course I've worked with plenty of terrible people, and most of them were like really early on in my career. So there's no point, but there's no point in like burying anybody. There's some people, and there's sometimes you wrestle somebody who's really good that you just kind of don't have chemistry with. But it's not anybody's fault. You just don't click. There was a match I had, a dude that I love to death, and I think he's super talented. And actually, we put on, I feel in ring, if you watch it with the volume off, the match itself was good. I went for Brody King out in PWG, and I think we were, everything was good, it was fine, but the crowd wasn't like super fucking fire, like not like a PWG crowd that you'd expect. And we got to the back, and he was like, "Hey man, you safe? You good?" And we're like, "Yeah, you safe? You good? Yeah, cool." And then we just looked at each other, and I said to him, I was like, which by the way, he didn't have to give me this kind of respect because of the success he's had. but he kind of gave me the respect as, like, I guess in a weird way, it's weird to say this, kind of like his senior in this regard. And I just said, I was like, hey man, we went out there, we did our thing, we did well, but the crowd just wanted something that we didn't give them. Just happens sometimes, and you got to be honest.
Yeah.
You got to be honest with yourselves. And we did our job. We performed the best we could. We didn't botch anything. It was fine. It was just kind of like one of those things where we didn't give them, like, we tried to find out what they wanted, and we couldn't quite get there. It was good enough, but it wasn't quite there. And that's not like a slag towards Brody at all. He's fucking awesome. And it's not even, I'm not even putting myself down. It's just kind of one of those things. It happens sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of really good people, and I've been fortunate to even work with people that are very good that we had to have a learning experience.
Got Andy.
So, again, I go back to that video, right? Because there's a lot of very good stuff in this video that you did with, I think his name was Kenny Johnson, a couple years ago.
Sure.
You bring up this notebook that you have of every pro wrestling match you've ever had. That answers my question. If you still had the notebook.
I love that you had that on.
That's
hand,
amazing.
Got it all right here. Yeah, of course. I list. So like that was a thing that I think I said it in that video. Kenny Johnson also, shout out to him. Like, what a talented individual. But yeah, I heard that Chris Jericho did that. Like, he had the list of all his matches and everything, and I thought that was really cool. I thought that was really great to chronicle your whole career. So yeah, I have that. Currently, I'm sitting at, let me see the number. Let me see the last number on that. Let me go all the way back the last time I wrestled. 885 matches in my career.
Wow.
Wow.
That's what I've got down so far is 885. So
in that book, so what do you notate? You notate your opponent, where, and the date?
It's the date, the company name, the location as far as like the city, in state or country, the result, and the opponent.
That's awesome.
And if there's something special in the match, like if there was a title on the line or there was like a special stipulation, I kind of take note of that. And if the match itself had like either a really significant personal or professional meaning to it, I highlight it. Like I just make it stand out. And that used to be like when I first started. It's funny when I look at, like, I get more and more selective. So like when I first started, it was like I highlighted like almost every match that I got the "This is awesome" chant. That was
nice.
Like, oh man, okay, cool. I'm having a good match now. And then it got more and more selective. I was like, okay, well, this match meant something to me. I felt something here. Okay, this is significant in my career. And then it gets more and more selective. I'm like, oh, okay. I got to be picky and choosy about these like ones that really stand out. So like as I go on, I just see like less and less highlights. Because then it gets to the point. Like, I'll say this. I remember when I wrestled, when I first saw the first American Rana, and the Johnny Gargano wrestled JT, and the match was dope. It was so sick, and after the match, Gargano in the back was just cool. He was like, "Oh man, hey, like cool, good stuff, like whatever." He was just fine, like you would any other match. But the match was like so good, and the crowd was going so nuts. And I remember him just coming back being normal, and I was like, "Wow, what's that like?" Because I would be like off the wall excited. And then now I've gotten to the point where I've been fortunate enough to work with so many good people. I've kind of learned how to have a good match, and I've kind of learned like what works here. I've learned how to engage a crowd the right way most of the time. And and like if I go out and I wrestle somebody that's not necessarily well known, or it's not like a big company or something like that, and the crowd doesn't know me, and we go out and we fucking tear it up, and we have a "This is awesome" chance, and they go out and they like buy that guy's merch or buy my stuff. It's like, and then I get to the back and I'm like, okay, well, cool, thanks. Hey, this is this. Meanwhile, my opponent, who maybe they were in the position that I was in watching that Gargano match, and they're sitting there like, and they were like, "Oh, thank you so much. That was so great. I really appreciate it." I'm like, yeah, like I don't mean to make fun or anything like that, because I'm not, but I just remember like normalizing the feeling that you get from that And then you're talking about the Last Dance sort of thing. Obviously, I'm not going to compare myself to Michael Jordan, so nobody get that twisted, all right? But like this idea that, once he won that first championship, right? That was the first time he ever had that, like, he was sobbing when he was holding that title, right? And then after that, every other time is kind of like a relief.
Yeah.
Because then when you start to have that reputation, it's fun, you love it, and you love to put on great performances. But if you're being brought in for a one-off, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, and you have to deliver because they're expecting you to do that. So as much as you enjoy it and you love the experience, and you ride that high, it is a bit of a relief when things go off well, yeah, so I guess I don't know where I was going with all that shit, but
But and to be fair too, in sports, when you're brought in, like if you're a big mega star like a Michael Jordan or something like that, and you're being brought to a team, you have a whole season to try and adjust and hopefully work well in chemistry with the team. Wrestling, you're brought in for a one-off. It's like it's one night and it's one match. You're like, and if it doesn't go well, it's like, ooh, well, I guess I'm not getting called by them anymore.
So basically, I'm in a much tougher position than Michael Jordan, actually. So I think we can all agree to that the pressure that's on me personally as an individual is more than what Michael Jordan ever had to deal with. We can all agree with that, right? We'll all just say that. I want everyone to say yes. If
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Maddie.
So, question I have is, you were the Rev Pro Cruiserweight champion for a period of time, and obviously you were living in the UK, like you were saying earlier, and you actually had a chance to work there for a while. Was there ever any talk of you ever doing a tour with NJPW? Reason I ask is because both of those companies are constantly doing business together, and it's like ROH and NJPW used to be back in the day. Now it's Rev Pro has kind of taken that spot. Was there ever any time they said, like, hey, they want you to work a tour in Japan?
Well, I mean, there's things that pop up. There's opportunities that pop up, and there's things that get talked about and all that. That'd be super cool. That'd be wonderful. You never say never, and you never say, and nothing's ever guaranteed either. So, I mean, has there been opportunities? I mean, there might be. There might be one sitting on the table. I don't know. Like, it is what it is. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of the guys who are top guys at New Japan. Like, I've worked with Suzuki, I've worked with Tanahashi, I've worked with Ishii, I've worked with
Naito, right?
A bunch of guys. I mean, I can't hell, that the biggest program that I had as Rev Pro as the undisputed British Cruiserweight champion was with El Phantasmo, who and obviously he's doing great stuff there now. And so I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of those guys, and I think I rate New Japan super high. I mean, the way they treat their workers and the way that they run their business is seemingly second to none. So I've always enjoyed my experience whenever I've been around all the New Japan guys, and I've always enjoyed wrestling them. So yeah, we'll see.
Cool.
Well,
before we go to Andy, just one last question. You worked with Minoru Suzuki.
We tagged together.
Okay. I was gonna say, I was like, if you're working against him, I'm like, oh man, that must have been a crazy experience there.
We tagged together. It was. Let me try and think of the match. I have to remember who was all in it. It was at WrestleCon in New Orleans. It was. I could fucking look in my book, couldn't I?
That's hilarious.
Which,
speaking of WrestleCon, dude, I have been trying to catch you at WrestleCon for the last not this year, but the last two years.
I'm on all the shows all the time. Every one of those weekends, I'm wrestling like 9 times. What shows aren't you going to?
This is so good.
New York. And like, where's David Starr? They showed me, oh, he's right in there. I walk in there, the whole fucking room was empty. You had your thing set up. I kept having people tell me, "Oh, he's coming back in like 5 minutes." I stood there for 25 minutes. I was like, "I love the guy, but I'm out of here. Fuck this."
Waiting longer than 25 minutes.
There wasn't another soul that came into this room while I was there. I was worried that they were going to close me in there.
Okay. So you invite me on your fucking show, and then you want to insult me like that. Is that how this is going to go? I'm looking to try and get you some fucking shit, and then you want to treat me? Fucking insult. Are you kidding me? I gave you a fucking spot on a wrestling show. You had no fucking business being in that goddamn ring, and I gave you a real fucking name. Oh my god, who the fuck do you think you fucking are? Okay,
Hans Bickler.
you're not. I'm taking that name from you. My creation. I invented you.
Ryan's here.
In fairness, I came up with Hans. You came up with
I'm
Bickler.
looking up this goddamn name. These people. Fucking mad. Unreal. This,
In fairness, the only guy in the world that can get over on me like that.
Oh,
let me.
that was gold.
Yeah, I didn't do it the right year. Yeah. When did, turned to that match? Okay, that was cool. When was WrestleMania that week? Oh, I was with Minoru Suzuki and Brian Cage, and we tagged against Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, and Sami Callihan.
Okay.
Oh man, that's like an all-star match right there. Damn.
That weekend was pretty fucking stacked for me. That whole weekend was that my first match of the weekend? That's ridiculous. Why would I?
That's the first match?
That was the first match of my weekend. Was me, Minoru Suzuki, and Brian Cage versus Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, and Sami Callihan, followed by me and Keith Lee versus Walter and Tim Thatcher, followed by me versus Martin Stone, followed by me versus Mike Quackenbush, followed by me, Keith Lee, and Matt Riddle versus Mark Haskins, Jimmy Havoc, and Flash Morgan Webster, followed by me versus Juice Robinson.
Jesus.
Insane.
What was my next WrestleMania? Did I top it next year? Let's see that shit. I want to see if I improved, you know?
Man, if you top that, whoa. Like, whew.
Look, you guys are going through my little flipping through my memory. I haven't really flipped through all these matches like this in a while. The next year I started out with Masato Tanaka. I wrestled Masato Tanaka.
Okay.
Then I wrestled Lucky Kid. Then I wrestled Daga. Then I wrestled Ishii. Then I wrestled John Morrison. Then I wrestled Moose and Brian Cage. Then with JT, I tagged against the Private Party. And yeah, that was my next week. That was my next one. So I don't know. I think that other one, I think the year before was a little more prominent. But the Ishii match, the experience at Blackcraft against John Morrison, and obviously I got to wrestle fucking Masato Tanaka. That's pretty dope.
I got to tell you, by the way, real quick. Our chat and our studio private group chat that we have is absolutely popping.
Oh,
right
they
now.
love that.
Cut on me. I will never. They're going to cut that and show that on the station. So thank you for that, because that's going to ride for a long time.
I want them all to see it for who the you really are.
Chrome
this
gets
is why-
exposed.
This is so good. Hey, now you know how I feel week to week.
And this is why he's my favorite wrestler.
Oh, Ryan, come on.
Oh my
This
god!
is why he's my favorite wrestler. I'm all. Listen, he wants to cut me up. I'm all for it.
Oh,
Um,
where are we again? I
I
forget.
don't even. We were looking at his match.
It's May.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So since we're going down this trip of memory lane, David, I want to go back to November 18th, 2016. Does that date stick out to you in your head?
The book is back.
So, you're gonna November 18th, 2016.
Yeah.
I wrestled November 8th. Did you say November 18th?
November 18th, 2016.
Well, I wrestled in Goda against Tyler Bate, and I won the WXW Shotgun title.
Yeah, that was when you became the first American to win that title.
Yeah, you're fucking right. I did. I bleed red, white, and blue. I bleed freedom.
So now we got you a little fired up. Can you tell me what it meant to be the first American to win that title?
I mean, it's cool, man. Like, the thing about WXW was like that was a place that I really pushed to go to because it was just one of like the cool European indies, and it just showed like it just solidified the faith that they had in me, you know, and obviously, I mean, Tyler wasn't Tyler yet, but he was still Tyler. Like everyone knew that he was great, but he wasn't who he is now. And it was just like it was cool that like a European company was investing in it because they were kind of like I could say this all the time. Like I keep pointing to I've said this I think a few different times about different. They were the first place to invest in me, but WXW was the first European company to invest in me. Like that's why I'll love them forever. And you know I even through everything that happened with WXW, like I respect the fuck out of them always. And it meant it meant a lot. That meant a lot. And then knowing that after that happened, them pitching me the idea of taking the shotgun title with me, like back to the States and everywhere else I went, like that was pretty important. They hadn't let that happen. And that showed the confidence they had and the trust they had. And that's the thing with titles, man. Like titles, obviously, I didn't really fucking win a championship belt. We get that. I didn't actually win. I didn't physically fight Tyler Bate and like beat him for that, you know? They underlined my name on a card and they said, you're going to be our champion. And that means, like, as much as it doesn't take away from the accomplishment to admit that, because the fact that they had the faith and the respect for me and all of that, it's pretty awesome, man. Like that's just a cool thing. Like, so it did mean a lot because that place means a lot to me.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean that's a title that you brought over here. You know, we've talked about it before. The
only shut the fuck up, Hans. The only 3-time WXW Shotgun champion is this guy right here, the best WXW Shotgun champion in history. Anyway, you can keep talking.
You that's the title that you brought over, right? And obviously that was the title that you had.
That's what I just said.
Right.
I literally just said it, and you were in the ring for the match.
But I'm saying beyond that.
How do you deal with this?
Son of a bitch.
That's why I do the stats. I have all the facts.
As I was saying before, I was so rudely cut off there.
Oh, you're gonna say he rudely cut you off? Okay.
I'm just like tossing fuel onto the fire at this point. No, seriously.
You're wearing my fucking t-shirt.
Is this like our barbershop moment? Is this like, am I Janetti and you're putting me through the barbershop window at this point? Listen, dude, that dude's a mess. I ain't even trying to touch Janetti at this point, buddy.
I don't think anyone should do that.
But what was that? So seriously though, what was that series of matches like? Because again, you know, you had that match here that I was a part of, but then you guys were over at WXW, and that was when you guys doing this series of matches for the Progress, the Atlas Championship, and obviously the Shotgun Championship. And I know that there was a lot of rave reviews for that series. Can you talk about that series of matches with Riddle all over the world? Me
and Riddle?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, Matt Riddle's a fucking man. You know, like, he's cool as shit. One of the things that like it's really cool about Matt Riddle is that he doesn't get too big for anybody. You know, like he's a legitimate fucking superstar, and he always has been. I think Matt Riddle might be the most charismatic human being I've ever met in my life, and he doesn't act like he's Matt Riddle. Like honestly, that's it. He hangs out with. If you're a fucking wrestling fan, or if you're a dude who's just like, if you're just a cool person, he's chill with you. Like he doesn't look down on anybody. He doesn't turn his nose up at anybody. Like he's just like a chill fucking dude. And I was one of his first matches outside of the Monster Factory. And like, Oh, hey, Nick Papa Giorgio, what's up? So I was one of his first mats outside the Monster Factory, and he just like always showed me love, and he just deserves it. Like Matt Riddle, yeah, Matt's just the man. Like he's just one of those dudes who just gets it, and there's other people who have been very, very good MMA fighters that don't get it, and Matt does get it, and it's really awesome. I love wrestling Matt Riddle all the time, and actually, funny enough, he used to joke about it because when he used to say, because I always was booked to beat Matt all the time, which is so ridiculous. But, well, booking anybody to beat Matt Riddle is pretty ridiculous. But, so like, okay, Nick, you said hello. Don't fucking Nick Papa Giorgio.
What's up, buddy?
But like he's just one of those. He always used to joke about how he never got to beat me, and all the time I got booked to go over him. And then I actually remember him and I pitched this little idea to do like a mini angle at PWG, building up to the first round of Bola. And I just remember them being just like, nah. All right, cool, like whatever. Love you, Nick. So anyway, stop commenting. You're hogging space, Nick. Interview, Nick. I love you to death. All right. Hope you're well. I hope you're safe. Anyway, so but yeah, Matt Riddle is just one of those cool dudes, and I think the coolest thing about him is that he sells for us.
Oh, absolutely.
He doesn't have to. At any point in time when Matt Riddle doesn't feel like losing, he doesn't have to.
That's true. That's very, very fair. Listen, we want to ask you about the infamous viral promo that you cut last year.
Which one?
Which one, he says.
I think the biggest one that people probably most remember, and you're right, there was a series of a lot of stuff you were dropping. It's kind of where that social media boom took. But the one on Sinclair and ROH and before the Jay Lethal match, and I mean, side note, I think we talked about it actually before you even came on. We were 1,000% with you on that promo. But can you kind of talk?
Work at Ring of Honor too, by the way.
What's that?
So
and Ring of Honor.
Work at Ring of Honor as well. People that work there, not so much Joe Koff and all of his pieces of shit, but the people that work there, they were very much behind me based on all the DMs, text messages, and in-person conversations I had. So
I absolutely could see why. But what was your mindset and the inspiration behind that? I mean, and did you think that was going to blow up the way that it did?
Man.
I mean, you were the talk of the professional wrestling world.
It
was insane.
Yeah. So, in all seriousness, like when I got booked for the show, Jerry, who's the promoter for Israel Pro Wrestling Association, great dude, awesome guy, just wants to put on the best fucking shows for the whatever crowd he's running in front of. Like when he told me he told me he wanted to get like he wanted to get me like a good match. He wanted to get me like a big fucking crazy good match. I was all right, cool. Then he told me he got Jay Lethal, and I was like, that's fucking great. I've wrestled Jay before. I wrestled him one time at What Culture Pro Wrestling, and it was awesome. He's just and on top of that, even if I hadn't wrestled him before, I mean, he is just one of the best. Period. He's so good. And then he told me, I think Ring of Honor is going to put the world title on the line for the match, and I was like, all right, cool. And I remember when it actually officially got announced, I didn't even know. I was at a show. I was at TNT in Liverpool, which is I'm champion of that company. TNT is the best undergraps show in the UK. Period. They're fucking awesome.
Love it.
And I remember afterwards, TNT happens to be a place. Liverpool happens to be a place where, if you're there, you want to be in Liverpool. You go out in Liverpool. It's just what you do.
Yeah.
And I remember I was out there with a friend of mine, this dude who was staying with me, who's a wrestler, who's also Jewish, and he's a good friend of mine named Jackson Stone. And when they announced that I was going to wrestle for the Ring of Honor World Championship in Israel, I remember literally looking when I got I saw it on my phone. I hadn't checked Twitter. I hadn't seen all that, and Ring of Honor announced it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was official until they did that. And I was like, and I just remember looking at Jackson, and I was like, I have to say something about this. And he was like, okay, like, what do you want to say? And I was like, I kind of think I want to call out Sinclair as being like an extremist far right wing propaganda machine. And I also kind of want to call out the Israeli government for not providing basic civil human rights for everybody. Like, the apartheid state that exists.
Right.
And he was like, fucking yeah, do it. I was like, and funny enough, so I wouldn't forget, because I got quite drunk that night. Like, I recorded myself doing like a really shit version of what the promo we ended up doing was. Like, I just recorded it off the cuff. Like, we'll make sure to get these ideas out. And I was like, I was thinking about posting it. I'm so happy I didn't. Like, and then I hit up James Musselwhite, who ended up being my business partner with We the Independent and stuff. This is the first time we like formally worked together, and I hit him up to record it because I loved his work and I loved the way the emotion he got out of simplicity, and I talked to my girlfriend at the time about what I was going to do, and she was really upset with me that I was going to do this because I knew Ring of Honor was a place that I had the potential to work for and make salaried income, and I kind of sat and I talked to a few other friends of mine who are in wrestling that are like-minded, that are very, very popular and that work with companies associated with Ring of Honor and stuff, and asked if it would what it could mean. And basically I was like, you know what? I kind of can't speak on the things that I speak on and then go to Israel and wrestle for the Ring of Honor World Championship without saying something. So myself and a good friend of ours, Dennis, that he'll remain anonymous, who helped us out kind of constructing and producing this promo. We did it, and I was so nervous. And I remember when I actually posted it, it was me, Dennis, Jack Sexsmith, Beyond Gorilla, my girlfriend, and Aaron, and Jackson, all with us, who went to a Wagamama's. And I was sitting there and I used their Wi-Fi, and I was like, well, it's time to post this promo, so let's do it. And we'll do it. And then everything kind of happened. And then they obviously freaked out, and they weren't very happy, and they threatened to pull Jay, and they threatened to do all this shit, and basically would have bankrupted that indie company in Israel. And that only got more attention on it. So, man, that kind of gave me the support that I got from that, kind of gave me the balls to take the next step. Because it was just, it just like, I'm just really proud of that stuff that me and my team that we like kind of put together. Like that's just a really special thing. And on top of that, with the whole thing, like, it's very rare that like wrestling promos get that kind of attention without breaking kayfabe, and we maintained kayfabe. At no point did I take away from the idea of a competition. At no point did I take away from the idea that I wanted to win that championship. At no point did I didn't even disparage Jay Lethal as a wrestler. I didn't do any of that. I just kind of spoke about what the championship and what winning that championship would mean to me. And I never took away from that. And we never took away from that. Like, we producing that promo together. Like, I'm really proud of that. That's like, yeah, that's one of the best fucking things I did. And it really helped, that along with the Shawn Ryan videos for OTT and stuff, really helped put me on the next level, because I think anyone can go out there and perform in the ring, but it matters if you can convey if you can create an emotional connection. That's really what the fucking business is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy too, because I can remember it. So I didn't catch it like initially on Twitter, but there are people who know that I've talked to you before, and that I was a part of your match, and I can't tell you how many text messages I got that day of, did you see your boy Starr's promo? And I'm like, no. And people I kept getting the link sent to me over and over. And it was like huge. And I'm talking about some people who weren't even like huge wrestling fans. I mean, this thing started coming up on, when you would pull up Google, like under the articles, it would have like David Starr that goes after Sinclair or something like that. and it was just like over and over. It was awesome.
Yeah, man, I got to do like based on that interview and based on getting pulled, like the story got picked up by Newsweek, by Slate, by Daily Beast, by like a bunch of different like real mainstream media outlets. And if it weren't, and like I was fortunate enough, I went on like the Michael Brooks show, which if there's anybody out there that's even like left curious as far as like the political spectrum goes, that are interested in international politics, go check out CMBS. My boy Michael Brooks, he's the fucking man. Like when I got invited to go do that show, we talked about that. One of the things that afforded me the ability to go on the Hill Rising with Crystal Ball and stuff was that promo. Like that stuff kind of got the ball rolling and really helped, was the starting point to kicking off like a social consciousness about like pro wrestling as a business, because everyone always talks about the creative bullshit that happens in pro wrestling. Yeah, oh, this person wants to be booked this way, or this person didn't like losing to this person, or there's heat backstage with that. Like, and I think that I'm really happy that even you fast forward to today, and that kind of all of this talk about the business of the business got kind of popularized through people speaking up, and I feel. I'm happy that there was others that kind of did it before me, people like Jesse Ventura and stuff like that, that were willing and able to come forward about stuff and were willing and able to speak their mind about what's going on in pro wrestling. And I'm so proud to kind of be a part of that like legacy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I want to get into We the Independent, but I'm going to give you guys a chance to ask another question before we get into We the Independent, because I'm going to give David back his time soon.
Okay, then. Actually, the couple of questions that I have, they're actually from one of the commenters. He was saying, are there any differences between the UK indies and the US indies? And then, is there like anything? And also, you wanted to know if we'll ever see David back in Chikara.
I would love, I'd be down to wrestle for Chikara again. I love Mike Quackenbush. Everyone knows. I think everyone knows I got love for Quack. I'd love to wrestle for Chikara again, even if it's just for like a one-off or whatever. That'd be cool as shit. Difference between the US and the UK is just like the way the fans interact. Like I think that overall, like, and this isn't necessarily a slight to the US scene, but I think that it's easier to for a casual fan to go to a UK show or a European show than it is for them to go to a US show. Because I think that the culture over there is just so much more of a social environment, and like the songs and the chants and the interactivity, it's just a different type of feel. I love wrestling in the US. I love wrestling in the UK. I love wrestling in Europe. I love wrestling everywhere that I've been able to wrestle. Like I wrestle in Canada and Mexico and all that stuff too, like Australia and all the other countries. Like it's dope as fuck. But the culture of like being a sports fan is just different. And on top of that, if I don't have to worry about going to the hospital because I don't have to pay for shit if I go.
So you talk about wrestling all over the world and everything like that. What was it like wrestling in Israel? Because you don't hear a lot of people talk about pro wrestling over in Israel. What was that like, especially being Jewish?
So I've done it twice, and it was the first time was really cool. It was on this like Israeli television station where it got broadcast to like tens of thousands of people, which was dope, and it was in front of 1,200 people. And it was like a 4-day tour it was a 4-day trip, like where they hosted a bunch of us, and we all got to like hang out. We went through Jerusalem, and I was there with like Tatanka and Marty Jannetty and like a bunch of other dudes, and the Von Erichs and stuff like that. And that was super cool. That was a great experience. The second time I went, I was a little bit was right after the Sinclair promo, and I was a little bit more conscious of what Israel was. Like I kind of thought, I think American Jews in general, I think we have a propagandized or a mythologized idea of Israel, of what the state of Israel is, and it's hard to grapple with that. It's hard to kind of detach yourself and kind of get yourself gripped into reality. Being having a Jewish identity, and then also having to come to terms with the apartheid state that is Israel and the way that Zionism was enacted. It's very difficult because you have to understand that your own people are now responsible for the displacement and almost, and I mean, it's fair to say, like, in a way, like the genocide of another people. It gets fucking really tough to deal with, especially because it's supposed to be our homeland, right? So
Right.
the second time that I was there, I had come out and said that. The times when I went through Israeli airport security, I was fucking searched and searched and searched because I hashtag Free Palestine a few different times, and it was tough. And then I had to I had to face some tough conversations. Like I spoke to people that were like identified as Israeli Jews. I spoke to people that identified as Palestinian Muslims and Arabs in general. Like I spoke to a bunch of people. I wanted to get their on the ground experience, and it's tough because like I want to enjoy the history. You want to go there and you want to enjoy that the history that exists. It's so captivating, man. I cannot tell you a more special time than it was walking around old city Jerusalem, and like it is so it's very powerful, and but then you have to also think about all these people that are disenfranchised and all these people that have to live under, like I said it again, I almost sound like broke red, but under apartheid. Like you have to kind of come to grips with that. So I vowed the next time that I go to Israel, I will be visiting an occupied territory, and I will be getting that experience because it's not fair for me to go and enjoy the Dead Sea and enjoy Old City Jerusalem and all that. While it's great to go and do interviews with people and like talk to them about their experience, no matter what their background is and their feelings on the state, it's not fair to get that from this completely privileged perspective. So, the next time I go, I've been in touch with If Not Now, which is a great, it's a Jewish organization that supports Palestinian freedom and things like a Palestinian state and a two-state solution. So, it meant a lot to be there, but it also, without kind of tackling the social issues that exist, it's pretty tough, man. Even though it's so powerful and it means so much to be there.
Yeah, and then real quick before we go to Weedy Independent, so I'm a youth advisor for 9th through 12th graders for Jewish kids. Do you have any piece of advice for them? Because some of these kids are the only Jews in their schools. Do you have any piece of advice for them when it comes to Jewish identity?
I mean, just get in touch with who you are. Know about like I experienced the first real anti-Semitism I experienced when I was in university, right? And it sucks that the idea of me having to face anti-Semitic actions and stuff, because I got death threats when I was at university. I got death threats for being Jewish. The only Jewish kid on a private white Christian campus, and that was the first time I really had I understood I was different. Like I really got it. So just make sure that I guess, just know who you are, know where you came from. I don't want to go as extreme as like my dad does. My dad will say to me, like, if you dig down deep underneath the skin of any Gentile, you'll find an anti-Semite. And I don't want to go that extreme, but just love who you are, know who you are, embrace your difference, embrace it. Like just it's powerful, It's who you are as a person, and you should be fucking proud of that shit. While also, I don't like the equating of all Jews to Israel. Of course, I don't. I think that's anti-Semitic in and of itself.
Right.
On top of that, we all have some sort of affinity to the state of Israel. We do have that. All of us Jews, we have that, and you just got to approach it with realism, and you got to understand the power dynamics that exist, and you gotta show solidarity with other marginalized communities because we are one of the few privileged minorities. And just check your privilege where you can check your privilege. Embrace your differences, and embrace who you are, and just be fucking proud of it.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
That's great stuff. David, we the independent men. You guys, you started a movement, and that's really what it's become. It's a movement, and there's a lot to it, and obviously it's dealing with a lot of the labor issues, in the professional wrestling industry and just in general. Can you tell us kind of what the mission is for that? I guess more into specifics, because I know you kind of generalized some stuff on the site, and if David's a great follow on Twitter too. If you follow, a lot of what the mission is put out there on Twitter and on the We the Independent Twitter page. But can you just kind of dive a little deeper into, the motivation obviously behind it that you kind of touched on earlier, and what you guys are looking to accomplish, through this?
Yeah, sure. So We the Independent is a merchant, to be just point blank, it's a merchandising company that I started with a portrait photographer, James Musselwhite, who I mentioned earlier, who's the best wrestling photographer in the world, bar none. And he's also just a world-renowned photographer. He's done stuff with Canon and all these different things. He's so good. We started this company, and we used portions of our proceeds to sponsor pro wrestlers in the UK's trade union membership into Equity, who Equity UK is an entertainment trade union that has over 40,000 members or some crazy shit like that. And they help provide standards of practice and safety regulations and fair pay and things like that any union would do for entertainers that are based in the UK. Equity has other branches. They have Equity in the US, Equity Ireland, Equity. There's Equity all over the place, but we're working with the one in the UK specifically. Essentially, our goal is to organize independent professional wrestling, and that's, for people that aren't necessarily into what organize means, it's essentially the idea of unionizing independent wrestling. Currently, we're working in the UK, although there are. We've been reaching out to other countries and other branches of Equity and things like that to make this not just a UK thing. But we've done a lot of good work so far, including our first thing that we actually got done, which we thought was going to be such a long game, which ended up just working out pretty quickly, was we were able to use our campaign to push Equity's insurers to include pro wrestlers for the first time ever in their disability welfare insurance policy, which meant that
that's awesome.
If you're a member of the union and you're a pro wrestler and you get hurt, you'll still be paid. And you'll get paid up to £600 a month for up to a year, which used to be zero, and we got them up to that. And so we're really fucking happy about that. We're pushing for fair terms and conditions for pro wrestlers. We've been working with Equity and other companies such as Riot Cabaret over in the UK, where we've been writing template codes of conduct or standards of practice, essentially the baby steps towards creating a collective bargaining agreement. And we've had about 2 handfuls of independent wrestling companies that have verbally agreed, and 2 companies that actually have formally agreed to it, that being Eve Pro Wrestling, which is an all-women's company based in London, and Riot Cabaret, which was getting ready to have its debut show, and they were going to start from the ground level up with this Equity-adopted code of conduct while also recognizing the union of the roster. So that is honest. That's what we do. We have a podcast in which we talk about labor relations issues and diversity issues and all sorts of things about the business of the business. And our goal is to balance the power in professional wrestling, because workers themselves, as is in any other industry, in pro wrestling, are exploited at an extreme level. And I'm fairly certain, I feel pretty confident saying this all the time, is outside of the adult entertainment industry, pro wrestlers are the most exploited entertainers in the world. And then given that our job is to literally do harm to ourselves and sacrifice our own futures for the sake of somebody else to make money, it's pretty fucking crazy. So we're looking to do things like make sure that people get food and water in the back. Because hey, guess what? It's not always guaranteed that when you go to the back, there's a bunch of water for people. That's not necessarily guaranteed. It's not guaranteed there's going to be a medic there or some doctor on site. So we just want to make sure that these basic minimum standards are met to ensure that wrestlers are taken care of. And overall, the main goal is to provide a social safety net for independent professional wrestlers, so that if they are offered, that corporate wrestling contract, they actually have the real ability and real choice to say no if they want to. Because that's not, we have this illusion of choice now, in which, you can stay on the indies and work paycheck to paycheck, and it's not guaranteed for you, or you can sign this contract that's gonna you're gonna be required to have all these responsibilities, and you're gonna be getting exploited at like an even further rate, but you'll still be getting paid better than you might be on the indies. But we want to provide a social safety net so people feel comfortable negotiating on their own terms, because we're constantly getting forced into this idea that you have to accept whatever given to you. We're constantly being forced into this idea if you negotiate or you say no, you have a bad attitude. You're difficult to work with. No, we're just fucking fighting for mutually beneficial agreements. That's really what it comes down to. And hopefully this labor empowerment movement helps people understand that at the end of the day, workers always have the leverage. Workers always have the power. Because without the workers, there's no fucking business. That's it. And I want people to understand and recognize the power that we hold and actually wield it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So obviously WeTheIndependent.com. Where else can we find We The Independent, and where can we find your social media at?
We The Independent, like you said, WeTheIndependent.com. Our Twitter and our Instagram is at We The Indie, spelled with an IE, not a Y, because we're indie, not indie. And you can check out our podcast, WeTheIndependent.com/podcast, or search We The Independent on whatever your favorite podcast app is. That's all the We The Independent plugs. Myself, at The Product DS on Twitter and Instagram, DavidStarMerch.com, or you can go on my Twitter and Instagram and you'll see all the links in my bio to my other merchandise stores and things like that. Yeah. I don't know what else I have to plug, because I don't have any shows coming up. I don't have any matches coming up.
You can bury Chrome one more time.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't know Chrome. He only knows Hans.
Hans. Sorry.
Chrome.
I have a serious question for you, actually.
Yeah, go for it. I'm sure, it's so serious.
Just because we asked this. So we had Matt Tremont on a few weeks ago, and we were talking about H2O wrestling, and it was actually a really powerful conversation because he was very open and honest with us in terms of being an independent promotion owner during this COVID pandemic and how it's affecting the independent wrestling scene.
Yeah.
So do you have concerns coming out of this, whenever that is?
Yeah.
That this is going to permanently change the independent scene or devastate the independent scene going forward?
Yes. And the concerns are pretty obvious, but I do think that the biggest thing is like the places that are going to be able to survive. Oh, my mom might be making an appearance again.
Yes.
Uh-oh. What are you doing? Why are you sneaking that door open?
Well, I wanted to know who's with every single day.
No, I'm gonna. We're signing off soon. I'll eat that. Don't come. You're gonna come on here. You're gonna start talking.
Hey, Mom.
Yes.
I'm tired and I need to put everything away.
Oh, we're gonna have him out. We're gonna have him back to you in like 5
Those
minutes.
old guys are texting me.
All right.
Oh, I love you, Mom. That was great.
Oh, I guess we can say that's officially the best guest appearance in the history of A2D Radio.
best
right
runner.
there. Yeah.
Your mom. I love you, buddy, but your mom might be the greatest guest in the history of
Shut the
ATD
fuck
Radio.
up, Hans. Close the door. She's here. She's eavesdropping on you guys. What's she saying? What are they saying about me? What are they talking about over here?
When I was young, I was very famous.
Oh, get out.
We love you, Mom. I see where you listen, David. I see where the personality comes from, brother. Absolutely.
Let me finish the interview and I'll come and enjoy the chicken.
Wait a minute. How do you like this background? Look at this. Isn't
I'm a
it
chef.
Beautiful. It is beautiful.
Isn't that
It's very regal. Like.
It is.
now? I'm-
It is very fitting. It is very nice.
Isn't it?
Mom, you don't need to respond to that. Mom, it's
He's making sure the door gets closed.
she's gonna sneak herself back in here. I know she's going to. But
Hey, Dave. See, David, and you thought the best moment was going to be when you cut the promo on me. I think your mom just stole the spotlight of the show right there.
she did. She always does that. She was honestly okay. She was Miss Philadelphia in 1976. Like she was dope as fuck. Like she's she's yeah. I mean, and she went out there and she won that beauty pageant by like going up there and being a goof. Like she literally
That's awesome.
She like, didn't give a shit. Like I've seen the video. She like walks out on the runway and she goes like she like
Oh, your mom. I think it's safe to say your mom is definitely over tonight. She put herself over big time tonight.
of course. But I don't remember what we were just talking about. So
The independent scene and kind of how it's going to come out of the COVID.
Right. So let's go back to that. So I am worried about it. You know, of course I am. You know, I hope that everyone's able to open back up and it will be that. I think one of the things though that might come out of this is that it incentivizes people like companies to be more legit. You know, like because the first companies that are going to be able to get something out of it are the ones who are paying their taxes, paying their bills, or listing their stuff. Like we need to overall, like I'll take this opportunity to kind of push this agenda, which I think is a good agenda. We need to professionalize professional wrestling because there's too many, like not to steal that douchebag Jim Cornette's fucking catch line here. There's too many like outlaw mud shows out there, really. And it's the truth. Like anybody can just fucking pick up and run. But you have to professionalize the business. We have to make sure that there are regulations in place and that people are handling business accordingly. And those places are going to be the first ones who are going to be able to get assistance or kick back open, all of that. Overall, I'm very concerned about independent wrestling because, you know, who knows who's still going to be open? Who knows whose insurers are going to be kind to them or not? Thank you, capitalism. And I just like... I hope that on the other side of this, besides independent promotions still being able to run, I'm very concerned that the independent promotions that do come back up are going to try and use this as an opportunity to cut wages.
Yeah.
No, and don't, if you're a promotion, don't even think about offering to cut my fucking wage. Two, don't cut anybody's wage for that matter, and wrestlers don't accept a cut wage. If it comes down to it, I would rather see promotions cut down on the number of matches they have than cut anybody's wages. Like that's one of the things that has to come out of this, and we have to kind of stand together and not accept it. I know we all need money. I know we all want to work. Don't let them manipulate you. They have the fucking money, and understand that your body is literally being used for somebody else to make money off of it. And that's really what it comes down to. And that's why wage labor is basically another version of slavery, or it's exploitation, whatever. It's theft. Wage labor is theft, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It is just how it goes, and you need to stand together, fight together. Don't let anybody do that sort of thing to you. I hope all of the independent companies are able to come back, especially the ones that keep it legit.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that as a fan too, I think that's a great idea. Actually, cut back the matches and make sure the guys that are on the card get paid properly. And honestly, you could still run the same amount of time. There's no reason that normally an 8-minute match can't go 16 minutes or 17 minutes.
We don't need to do that. I mean, we don't need to do that. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying though. Like you could run a little bit longer to make the show longer and still charge the same amount of money for fans. I don't need to see 8 matches on a card. If you give me 4 or 5 quality matches, I'll pay the same amount. I just want to see quality wrestling and be entertained.
Hell
so,
yeah.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, you don't need these 10, 12 match cards. You need
Exactly.
6 matches is fine. 5 matches is fine. Like just go out there and do that. Just don't cut anybody's wages. It doesn't make sense. Like their body isn't worth less.
I agree.
Yeah.
Listen, David, this was awesome, man. I despite you absolutely destroying me, and then I didn't even need. I'm not apologizing.
Of course you're not apologizing. What the fuck? What is he's a fucking Republican, probably.
Wow.
Listen, no.
Strong and
I love you, brother. I'm always following. We appreciate you coming on, man. Definitely, seriously, this was a great conversation. A lot that we took from it, dude. And definitely, you guys got to check out We the Independent. For us, Maddie, Nick, Ritz, myself.
Come on, man.
I pulled the David and forgot, and I have the fucking name on the screen too. I can't
You
believe
suck.
Listen, that's why I'm a David Starr guy. That's why I'm a David Starr guy. But no, seriously, David, thanks a lot, man. We appreciate you, brother, and we'll be checking out your podcast. And maybe we can, hopefully, when this comes back, maybe we can have you stop back on again, and we can talk about the rise of independence again, the independent wrestling.
Great.
Thanks again, brother. Listen, take care, be safe, and say hi to your mom for all of us. Tell
Thank
her
you,
thank
David.
you for making an appearance.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you, guys. Keep well, be safe, all that.
Thank you,
brother.
David.
Take care.
Thank you.
Oh, you just X out, Dave.
Cool.
He's my new favorite person in the pro wrestling world.
Listen, I told you guys I love David. He's such a cool dude. Seriously, and he's a lot of fun. And I told you guys, I knew that David. I'm like losing my light here. I'm in the backyard. I told you guys, David is a talker, dude. He's got great stories, really powerful views that I don't disagree with, and not afraid to cut a promo on me. And one of the only few people in the world that I will take the promo and not have much to give back to him, because there's not many better talkers than David Starr. Excuse me. So seriously, guys, can I get any kind of feedback from you guys in terms of that interview and what you guys took from it? We'll start with Maddie.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what he's doing is a good initiative for, it's been a long while since we ever heard the idea of ever having a union being brought up in pro wrestling. And like he was saying, the last time, he brought up Jesse Ventura, that was the last time you ever really heard about that. And I mean, Jesse even said the guy should just wind up if Vince doesn't, give some kind of minimum wage or some kind of union of some kind, that we'll just walk out of WrestleMania. That was the last time that was ever brought up. And also Hogan snitched on him too. But anyway, the point being though is that it hadn't been brought up. It had been pretty much destroyed. The idea of it was downplayed heavily. Whether it was through an excuse from a big company or through the fact that an independent promotion couldn't either afford it or what have you. I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing, especially considering the fact that, we've seen it happen where a lot of guys and gals will go into that, like he was saying, that big corporate contract where you go to WWE, or you could say even now AEW, although a little bit better in AEW. You could get hurt, and then they could release you from your contract. And then if you get released from your contract and you're sitting at home for 6 months because you had an injury of some type, you have to go back to the independent scene, and there's no guarantee you make money. It's like, okay, well, now you have an opportunity to say, okay, there could be an option out there for you now, as opposed to if you got hurt and then you got released from your contract, you're screwed. You literally sitting at home, not going to make any money because you got released due to an injury or what have you, you know. And it's good to see that there is some work being done to hopefully get that safety net in there for wrestlers, because we all love the workers in this business, and we don't want to see them, like you were saying, get taken advantage of, or get in a bad situation like that, and it's like, I'm screwed. I don't know what to do now. I'm hurt. I can't work for a few months, and now I don't have money coming in.
Yeah, that's really different to think about. Like, I never really thought. I mean, I'll take that back. No. I never really thought about there being a union for professional wrestlers and everything like that. And it really hasn't been within the last couple of years that I've realized how much they're not really protected, whether it be in the independent scene or even in their contracts with the WWE. What they're protected from, what they're not protected from. So having that kind of safety net and baseline. I mean, we have it. We have it in our regular jobs. Why can't they? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
That was a lot to take away from that. I mean, I won't lie, I did like the fact that he just absolutely buried Chrome. That might be my third favorite A2D moment ever. Like, ever.
Yeah, but guys, here's the thing. I knew it was coming. I was ready for it.
It doesn't matter. I still enjoyed it. So
The
shut up.
difference is, yeah, but here's the difference. I don't get whiny like you do when you get put in your place and being told how you're the B show on things.
I don't get whiny. Whoa,
when reality hits and the velocity tag gets thrown around, I've never seen a bigger whiny bitch in my life than you.
So then look in a mirror. You'll be
Don't
fine.
even go there. See,
You'll
I can
be
take
fine.
it. I welcome on an amazing guest like David Starr and know the quality that we're going to get. And I'll take the sacrifice of letting him rip me up and destroy me because he's one of the best promo guys. It's an honor. Let's be honest. It is an honor to have one of the best promo guys in professional wrestling. I'm not exaggerating, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to this man cut a promo. It's an honor to have him rip me apart on A2D. I will take that 10 20.
Don't get me wrong. It's an honor. It's great. Everything like that. I still thoroughly enjoyed it.
And that's good.
Whether you knew it was coming or not, I still thoroughly enjoyed that.
How can you not enjoy it? And listen, I legit didn't have much to say back to him anyway.
No.
I just waited for the moment until his mother did the talking for me.
I think we can all safely say Brodo's going to have one hell of a time having to choose a clip for the best of the week for this particular show.
I know I say this every week, guys, and I'm not trying to I'm really not trying to blow smoke up our asses, but I'm going to blow smoke up our asses. And not just us on this show or on I'm talking as a group, as a station, as a sports media company, A2D Radio. If you're missing any of our interviews, it's David Starr, it's Pat Combs last week, it's Brian Boone Kelleher, it's Ken Shamrock. Tomorrow we have Uchenna Nwasu from the San Diego, not San Diego anymore, Los Angeles Chargers. Yesterday we had our first women's professional athlete, Charnay Zoll, who I'll tell you, and again, I'm not trying to blow smoke because I was a part of that interview. You go back and watch that. I can tell you the feedback that we got. When you talk about highlighting women's professional sports, and they don't have the platform all the time, unless your name is Rapinoe or Carly Lloyd. They don't always have a platform. A2D gives them a platform here. It gives everybody a platform here to be somebody. David Starr, who WWE has basically blackballed, who a lot of major companies, after he dropped that viral video that we talked about last year, and he knew the repercussions that he talked about. There are places that will not give this man a chance and a platform to speak on. Luckily, he's got a loud enough voice and enough of a following that he grew organically that he doesn't need it. But A2D gives people like that a chance to speak because they deserve to have a voice and because they have a place. He was able to talk to you who, everything that you do in the Jewish community personally outside of A2D.
Yep.
You were able to talk to him about that and relate that. that's it. We're a sports entity here. We're a sports media company, you know, but by no means are we short of
We're for
providing
everybody.
people, and that's it, man. We are for everybody. We give everybody a platform, whether you're in our chats, whether you appear on our shows, whether it's us or anything in between, man. And you know, I have no problem standing on the soapbox for A2D at this point, because if you followed A2D since the beginning, or you hopped on later on, particularly if you've hopped on in the last 3 or 4 months, this company's making a lot of big noise. We're making big bangs over here and big bangs over here, and we're all over the place, dude. I'm serious. The takeover is real.
It absolutely
There's
is.
a lot of big stuff coming up. I mean, who do you got? Who do you have next week, man? You have what? Sam Carchidi tonight.
We do. We have Sam Carchidi tonight, Flyers beat writer, and then we have Chris Pronger coming up,
Chris Pronger, guys.
which you will be a part of, Chrome, and it'll be awesome because obviously Sam writes for the Flyers and everything, and I've read tons of his articles. I can't even count them. And then Pronger, obviously, that's a name, if you know anything about hockey or just Philly sports in general, that's a name that should ring a few bells because he was a major player in several teams, and in Philadelphia, he was the captain of the Flyers for a period of time. So,
yeah. I want people to understand just, where the mission and the goal for A2D is at this point. And it's never really changed, but we're just hitting the ground and running right now. They went on a big talk last night, and I was 1,000% with them. I think Ryan brought it up, and it was what was the segment that they did? Dumbest thing they heard of the week, right? And the Mike Missinelli situation came up and whatnot, and not that they dove too deep into that. We know how much of an idiot that was, but the conversation of we have a pandemic going on, right? But we really take ownership and pride and responsibility in being an alternative for people, being the choice for people who want to have a voice in the chat, for the incredible run of guests that we've been having on here. And particularly, look at this show, guys. We started with having Psycho Sid, Tito Santana, and Nikita Koloff, right?
Nick Papagiorgio.
Nick Papagiorgio. But I'm talking like, look at the guests that we have on here. We're not. There it is, 110% Ken Shamrock. I was getting to that
Absolutely.
in a minute, but and I was going to get to that in 1 second. So, when you look at what we want to build here, what we want to be the voice for anybody who needs to have a voice, an outlet for people to be able to have a voice. And when I look at just what we do on this show, right? We're not the traditional podcast show. We don't want to go and necessarily bring all the WWE guys in and hear all the corporate mumbo jumbo and stuff. Would I love to have some of them on here? Absolutely. But look at the diversity that we've brought on this station. Look at the current the people who can relate to current events right now. David Starr, who is a very outspoken person, who's an independent wrestler. It's not just WWE. It's not just AEW. Those people don't exist without the independent wrestling scene being alive. And to sit there and talk about having him on, having Matt Tremont on 4 weeks ago, I think, to where he talked about his promotion, having Leo Rush on, who suffered from the backlash of the COVID-19 pandemic, and everything in between, bringing you a legend like Ken Shamrock, who has done everything at 110%, and it hasn't always rubbed people the right way, and he's not the most politically correct guy in the world, but he has a lot to say and a lot that people can learn from. That promo, Ryan said it perfectly last week. It was 12:30 in the morning, and we almost ran through a fucking wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, are we getting that T-shirt made?
I think
110%.
Something. I'm dead serious. I think we're going to try to put a 110% thing together. But the whole point, guys, is you look up and down the list and what we do here, and that I take pride. Every time I leave here, I almost feel like I feel like every interview is the best interview we've ever done. whether I'm a part of it or not. And it's just because I feel like we're giving people really great quality conversation at a time where people need to hear realism. They don't need to be spoon-fed bullshit. And that's why, Andy, I was ready to have David Starr on here and not let David, because he would have did it anyway, and willing to take it when David Starr was going to cut a promo on me, because I knew in this place, on this platform, David Starr was going to create an opportunity to have an amazing discussion and an opportunity for people to think outside of the box.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And to your point that you your little your little rant that you went on there, right? Look at everything that this company has done from the days of the basement to the garage to the studio to now our own studios, because we have to, right? Look at what we've accomplished. Look at what we've done. Look at what we're doing. And we're about inclusion, not exclusion. We're about including everybody, from our chat to our groups on Facebook to all our social media platforms. And then you take a look at the merchandise. Like that merchandise in of itself has created new opportunities for us as well. You know,
No, sorry, Andy. Just
No,
wanted
you're
to let the president know it's not tonight. Sam Carchidi is tonight. We'll have Pronger on next week.
yeah, I mean, and to that point, you have Pronger next week. We had Ken Shamrock last week, Pat Combs. I mean, the list goes on, and it's continuously endless. You know, this is obviously a wrestling show. This company is the next big thing.
Yeah,
It is.
and real quick, Rome. When you were talking about the thing last night, I just wanted to jump in real quick. And again, like you know me, I don't go out of my way to take shots at anybody that's that's outside of what we do. For example,
And I don't either, Ryan, and you know
Yeah.
that. I never take shots at anyone.
That's very true.
Even if we have our own little side chats where people might take some shots, I don't ever say anything about it because I'm so focused on our goal. And I think we all are. I don't mean that to be negative,
Mhm.
but I'm with you. But, man, you had me pumped at 110% last night, Ryan.
Well, I mean, and again, I kind of decided to say that stuff, last night because I truly believe in it. Because, I look at, and I'm not going to single anybody out because unfortunately it's not just one individual, one station, around, whether it's our area or around the country, the second quarantine began and sports stopped. A majority of, I'll just say our competitors, they abandoned sports right away, or they just stopped broadcasting shows and putting out content. And Crum, you know this, you were in the room when we were talking about it. Matt, I believe you were as well. We didn't think for a second to stop. We didn't, because we knew not only just for ourselves to keep us from going crazy, just sitting at home, not doing anything, but we knew there were so many people that were in the same situations as us, to where we need to provide that escape for everybody. So I really don't understand, the people with the quote unquote more established companies and organizations out there that, have switched to politics or world culture or whatever the hell they're talking about, because there really is no excuse. And like I said last night, people can say, "Whoa, Ryan, you're only live once a week." That's false. I mean, we have shows every single day, sometimes 2-3 times a day. So, for people to say, "Oh, well, you don't understand what it," no, that's false. If anything, we're putting out more content on the daily, 24/7. So
Look at today, Ryan.
Yes.
Look at today. 3 shows on Wednesdays now. 3 shows running on Wednesdays. How often?
Today's Thursday.
Thursdays, I mean. Sorry. Whatever.
Damn it,
Shut
Andy.
up, Andy.
Damn it, Andy.
Just let me go.
He's the
3
stat
shows.
guy.
We have 3 shows on Thursdays, but even look at all the extra shows. We don't run 2 o'clock shows usually here. 2 o'clock interview yesterday. 2 o'clock show special for you guys tomorrow with the Los Angeles Chargers running back linebacker Chenna Nwasu. Like, we're bringing extra stuff. Pat Combs last week. We're bringing you extra stuff here because you need it, Ryan. Just like you said. I'll say this because I don't lie to the family. I would be a liar if I sat here and stayed quiet when you said that we never thought about not doing something. Because I'm talking me personally. Because I remember when we had the conversation. I said maybe we should shut things down for a week and see.
Mhm.
And you guys, a lot of you guys, majority of the guys here, and we all banded together and said, let's do a majority decision. And I was in the negative at first, but everybody, most of the people said, no, we should keep going with this. Let's do it for a week or two and see how people react. Maybe people won't want it, and then we can make a decision. But let's give people somewhere to talk, an outlet that will get them away from all the bullshit that we're seeing on TV, all the, I'm not getting into a political conversation, but all of the misinformation and the stuff that you get sucked into day in and day out. And let's give people a place that they can continue to talk about the thing that even in disagreement still unites us in terms of it's a passion for something, and that's sports.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
Listen, after that first week, and you guys remember, I was very skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
After that first week, I bought in. I saw it, and it's not because of me. It's because of the fam out there. It's because of you guys, because you guys wanted it. You wanted us to keep talking sports. You didn't want us to go away. You didn't want us to go out here and start talking about politics in an arena that we have no business talking to you about. We're not going to change your mind about anything. We're not going to discredit your opinions on things like that. And we don't have a place to talk about that. We're going to talk to you about what you want to talk about, what you have a knowledge in, what we have a knowledge in, and we're going to bring you something different. And that's why A2D is the fucking best.
And Chrome, that you're spot on. This last thing I'll add to this, because you know this more than anybody. I can talk about this for friggin' 5 straight hours without even blinking. I can just go on and on and on about this stuff. But at the end of the day, I bring this up not to, again, like Chrome said, not to blow smoke up anybody, but at the end of the day, I say it because it's a credit to the people at home. It's a credit to the people that, whether they joined us 5 years ago or they joined us 5 minutes ago, for example, and started watching us. The perfect example was last night. And again, I say this once again to credit the people who watch, not to credit to us, because we're just talking. But we talked for nearly 3 hours about freaking depth charts last night, and we were not going to be able to do that without the people at home, with them continuously chiming in with questions and comments and support. Because I've always said it, whether it was the first week I was here or last night, for example, if there was no one watching, we'd literally just be in a room by ourselves talking to ourselves. So at the end of the day, like Andy, for example, he's going to be talking to himself now.
He disappeared.
He got a couple tissues, I guess. He got emotional. There he is.
Okay.
There he is. Andy, are you here?
Yeah, my headphones died.
Oh, okay.
I can't hear him.
Okay. He said his headphones died.
Bret was just saying he had to get a couple tissues because you were getting emotional.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I mean that's my main point here is that the support, the love that we've gotten over the last handful of months, that's easy to talk about, but ever since we started this, the first week I joined here, we didn't even know, we didn't have a spot. Like Matty could tell you, Matt was here before I was. He was one of the originals that we were doing shows and we didn't even have a place to put the shows. Like literally, we didn't have a place. We were like, okay, we're gonna do a show, and we were like, where do we put it? Because the YouTube channel was just a middleman, and you know what I'm saying. So to see kind of how far we've come, not only in the last 5 years, but over the last few months with the interviews, with the merch, just with everything. I had a guy last night that that messaged me randomly. He's from freaking like Idaho, and he's an Eagles fan. I'm like, Jesus.
You had a guys pop in last night. Was it last night?
Oh, from Italy?
UK? Oh no, from you had from Monday night. They had a guy pop in from the UK. I mean, not to say that's anything abnormal, but just to kind of let you guys know how far our reach is getting with this stuff, which is awesome. It's really it's heartwarming for us. And Matt and Ryan is absolutely right. Like, again, we were going to talk about Chris Jericho and Mike Tyson and AEW, and honestly, I just felt like you guys fired me up so much last night, and maybe it's David's inspiration today with how free speaking he is. But I just felt compelled to kind of react to your guys' conversation last night on the Fix in the PM, and just kind of have a follow up on that here. In that, I personally want to thank everybody out there, because again, Ryan's spot on. This doesn't happen if you guys don't want to come on here and talk with us. They had a depth chart conversation that took 3 hours last night. If you guys aren't contributing to that, that's a conversation they get done maybe in an hour just in a room talking to themselves.
Yep.
It's everything you guys contribute. And the reason we can have guests like a Chris Pronger, like a Ken Shamrock, like a Vaughn Abron, or Leonard Weaver, or some of the other potential big names that we have coming on, that we can have now active major league pitchers and active NFL players that want to come on and promote their stuff. It's not just having them on and talk. They have stuff going on that they want to come on and promote.
Yep.
It's a testament to you guys, to you listening, to you watching, to you following us, and to you guys believing us that, hey, you're not going to get any bullshit here. You're going to get guys that are going to talk to you, and we're going to give you a platform. We're going to have our platform to talk, but it's your platform, and that we're going to make sure you have a voice here. You know, we would have never had these kind of things if it wasn't for you guys. We wouldn't have these people wanting to come on here and talk and understand. And I'll say this again, Ryan, and you can totally vouch for this. Every guest that I've interacted with that we've had on here, that I've kept in contact with, has said they never wanted the conversation to end.
Wow. Yeah.
They love the format that we do here. They love that it's an open forum for them to talk, and they love how engaging it is and how the people who watch it have a voice. So again, we want to thank you guys for making us what we are. And I say we as in all of us, not just us on camera. I mean we as in you guys in the chat who follow us on A2D Radio and A2D Live and A2D Poker and the Real Talk group, and who follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Music or podcasts or whatever you call Apple iTunes, whatever, or Google Play. I'm trying to make sure I get everything in. But I'm just saying, you guys do that, and you guys follow us. And the thing is, too, you guys support us so much that you might get your podcast on one thing, but you go to the other platforms and follow us just for the support. And that's the shit that we appreciate. So I'm going to leave it on that. I don't care about Chris Jericho and Mike Tyson. That fucking segment sucked anyway. It was a complete ripoff of 1998, and they didn't even know who any of the MMA fighters were. They called the chubby guy with makeup Vitor. They called him Vitor Belfort. It was the most disgraceful thing. They didn't even refer to Rashad Evans, who's one of the biggest, most notable names in MMA fighting in the last 10 years. What a disgrace. Anyway, we want to thank you guys. We want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank our doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy, Burlington, Cherry Hill, Princeton, New Jersey. Find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com, AMBUCK services.com, Ambuck Services, gutter cleaning, gutter guards, tree trimming, deck installation, restoration, any work you need outside. Summertime's coming. I've driven by some of your houses, and they look like shit. And you need Michael Ambrose over at Ambuck Services to help you guys out. Get your house summer ready. Get it ready to go. Make it look pretty. Check them out. Let Michael know that the fam at A2D sent you. You get 20% off. AmbuckServices.com. And QB54 for our topic of conversation. Really loved having. Well, we really didn't even really get into that, unfortunately, with David. I would have liked to have, but he just was so intuitive with everything he was given. But we want to thank QB54. Play QB54.com, best tailgating game out there. Promo code A2D gets you 10% off. And PhillyDrinkers.com. Man, they have some cool shit on there. There's like 42 or 43 items. We're talking swim shorts, T-shirts, show shirts. You want a Lazy Booking shirt? You want a Philadelphia QB Factory shirt? The Philadelphia QB Factory. I can't even talk. Philadelphia Quarterback Factory shirt. Jesus. You type in a promo code on that A2D, only on the shirt, not your full purchase, gets you 25% off. I want to make that clear, guys. You're not getting 25% off the full purchase, only on that specific T-shirt. But check them out. Awesome stuff. You want it in this very ring shirt? Awesome. But Maddie, you want a Hockey Happy Hour shirt? We got you. Hockey Happy Hour is at 10 p.m.
Yep, it is at 10.
2D wrestling shirt.
You want to get a fixed shirt? AM and the PM, Agree to Disagree, Sports Hounds, Kicking It Stateside, birds of a feather.
If you're a basketball
weekly
fan,
roundup.
if you're a basketball fan, they have the old Sixers logo looking like with
That's
A2D written on it, which is kick ass, by the way. So,
No.
just want to throw that out there.
If you're a wrestling fan or nerd, and you're a nerd if you're a wrestling fan, and I'm cool with it, I dig it. But if you're a wrestling fan, we dropped an awesome shirt. Was it earlier this week or last week? Late last week, Andy.
Last week.
Last week, okay. Last week, it's an NWO style A2D shirt. Guys, go check it out. I don't care that we're plugging the shit out of all this. We need to because this stuff is awesome. It's really cool, stylish stuff. That the QB Factory shirt is freaking awesome. I can't wait to get mine. I already ordered it. I'm just waiting on it. But thank you, Ritz. I appreciate you, buddy. I'd ask you what we're going to see on in this very ring, but you're unable to speak right now, which I have to say, this is the best I've ever heard you on any show that you've ever been on, buddy. So thank you so much. Maddie, as always, I appreciate you, brother. And, big announcement for this program. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, we got another interview lined up on tap. The manager of champions, Mr. Bill Alfonso, will be joining the show.
Nice.
So we're going to have the Fonzie on 2 weeks. That's going to be on the 11th at 7 p.m. We may have a guest next week, but we're not sure. If not,
Gotcha.
we'll do some kind of a current show. But I
Should
don't
we
want to say specifically.
should we say to Alfonso that he has to have his whistle and constantly, blow the whistle like he did in ECW back in the day?
I'm pumped for Fonzie. He's following all of our social now. I'm pretty pumped for Fonzie. So, but anyway, thank you guys for a great show. Stay tuned. Hockey Happy Hour comes in at 10 p.m. tonight. Sam Carchidi joins those guys. Brian Daly, Rob Povia, Mr. Matty Sinsuti. Sweet, very nice, beautiful hair over there, Matty Sinsuti. Thank you again, Mr. Andy Ritz, Mr. No Hair down there, Mr. Clean. Thank you, buddy. Love you. There it is. Loved it. That was great.
Oh, man, if only we could have played Val Venus' song right there. But anyway.
And for myself, guys, we appreciate you. Ryan Brodo, thank you on the back end. Frank Vespi for getting us going as well. And until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Maddie will see you in a little bit. The rest of us will see you at this point in the week. Be safe. Stay home if you don't have to go out. And take care.